So if you've been anywhere with a comment section in the last 48 hours, you've probably seen the outrage about Niantic switching community days back to 3 hours. Today, we're gonna be discussing that. We're gonna try to keep it mature, debating the pros, the cons of each, and then of course, at the end, we're gonna come with some solutions on how Niantic could fix this issue for the better. Now, the first question you're probably asking is, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Community days were originally 3 hours in Pokemon Go. All the way up until 2020, community days only lasted 3 hours long, and only because of COVID, Niantic increased it to 6 hours so people have more flexibility and more time to play while stuck at home. Now, the main reason Niantic changed this back is because of this paragraph right here. We're gonna go through it. Community adjustments. We wanted to take a moment to discuss some changes to the community day format we'll be testing. In 2020, we doubled the lengths of our community days, extending them from 3 to 6 hours. Since then, however, we found that only 5% of our trainers tend to participate in the events for more than 3 hours. So this is a very important stat here. Only 5% of our trainers tend to participate in the event for more than 3 hours. So not a lot of people play the whole community day. One of the biggest pieces of positive feedback that we received after January's 3-hour community classic was that players and community leaders noticed how much more the community was out and about during this event. Now, one thing I will say here about this sentence, and if they're using this towards a reason on why they're doing it, community day classic events are not the exact same as community days. Of course, they're very similar events. It is different because it is a different type of hype. It's bringing back a past community day Pokemon. There's a lot more hype around bringing back something like that compared to a certain community day. Of course, they're very similar in manner. I don't think it's an exact perfect comparison. So far, for the Stuffle community day, we'll be returning a 3-hour format. Our hope in doing so is it will create more opportunities for trainers to play together and connect outside as they're exploring. So pretty much their main goal here, and the reason they're saying they're doing this, is because they want more interaction. They want more trainers going out, meeting up with each other, and a higher chance of you running into other trainers, making new friends, etc., etc. Now, one thing I do want to say is that this is technically a theoretical bonus. Who is really to say that by reducing community days to 3 hours increases the chance of trainers making friends and all this stuff? What reducing 3-hour community days could do is, make people won't even play. Some people can't play. It doesn't really change the fact that people who used to play at home are still going to play at home. I don't think that really changes the fact of that. So all in all, this does require some testing on which does community really happen during a 3-hour community day? You would need to get some data on that. Now, I want to discuss the pros and cons of this because there are two sides to the argument. Now, the first pro I'm going to discuss, and probably the main one really, is community. Pokemon Go hopes that by reducing the time frame, there is a higher chance that you're playing Pokemon Go when other trainers are playing, and you have the higher chance of meeting up with them at parks and things like that. It's all theoretical, and in theory, it does make sense that reducing the time frame increases the chance of you running into trainers and making new friends. Obviously, this comes with the side bonuses of increased chance of finding someone to trade with if you want to trade with. Lures will possibly be more common to be out since, time frames will be reduced, so more people will be dropping lures during a condensed amount of time, and then you making friends, of course. This is really the key argument Niantic is doing this for, is because they want more people to interact and bring back Pokemon Go community like it was back in 2016, or as close as to 2016 as it can get. Obviously, it's never going to be the same. Some other bonuses that come with it is, first of all, item saving. Now, since we are going to be getting 2 times the amount of candy, XL candy, and they're just giving us a lot of bonuses during a short amount of time to try to make up for the short amount of time, you technically do save on items because you only have to use, half the amount of lures, half the amount of star pieces, half the amount of eggs, or whatever you want to do if you normally lucky egg star piece for the whole 6 hours. Next pro I've seen in the community is increased rarity. Now, obviously, community day shinies are not rare at all. People get billions of them, and not billions, but a lot of them during a community day. Having a 3-hour community day will kind of increase the chance. Obviously, there's a less chance that everyone's playing this community day and getting a lot of shinies. So the rarity of community day shinies will go up a little bit since community days are shorter than they were before, and there's a higher chance that people end up missing them. Finally, hype point. This is what I've seen in a lot of times. People are more excited for 3-hour community days or shorter events. Obviously, this can come with stress sometimes, but people are like, 3 hours, we got to go grind. Overall, I find shorter events sometimes can have more excitement because, you have a shorter amount of period and it feels more exclusive, you could say. Now the cons, and I think a lot of people are going to be here with me on the cons and probably have their ideas in their head. The first biggest one is the word flexibility. This is the argument I've seen going all the way around, and everyone kind of relates with this. Having a 3-hour community day does not allow for as much flexibility as a 6-hour community day. People have lives out of Pokemon Go. Some people are parents. Some people have jobs and things that they just cannot move around. And having that 6-hour community day allows them to still play the community day because it's a longer amount of time and have more flexibility with that. If someone is busy between 2 to 5 p.m., let's say that's the time your kid wants you to read a book, or I don't know, an example, you have a shift and you can't get that shift off. You're just out of luck. But when we had 11 to 5 p.m. community days, you could play the morning morning and then go to your shift in the afternoon. And in general, just allows for more flexibility. Not only flexibility of time, but also of safety. You know, if you don't want to go out during certain times, you don't feel safe, it's too dark, it's too cold. You know, at night in Canada, it gets dark at like 4 p.m. during the winter seasons. You know, you have flexibility to go out in the morning instead. So flexibility all around is going to be the word for that. Next up, candy loss. Of course, community days are going to be cut in half, which means you're going to be getting half the amount of candies. Now, obviously, we do have the candy bonus with 2 times XL candy and 2 times catch candy, but are they really going to keep these forever? If 3-hour community days do continue to happen, I doubt they would continue to give us double candy during those 3-hour community days. It could potentially happen, but that is just something we have to think about for the future. The next con is going to be COVID. Obviously, COVID has gotten a lot better than it was 2 years ago in the world. It is still a very big disease. Obviously, we have the vaccines now and a couple other things to keep us safe. Some people just don't feel safe going to those busy areas and those best areas to play in their local area when there is more players, there's more people out there because they don't want to catch COVID. If they're immunocompromised or, you know, COVID is very dangerous to them because if they catch it, they can, you know, get very, very sick like I was during my chemotherapy. This just doesn't allow the flexibility in which they can play during the hours when no one is out, or there's a less chance of groups happening because the day is more spread out. Obviously, COVID is something that we're gonna have to live with, and the world is getting to control more as the years go by. It is still something you do have to consider. Finally, an issue for me, and 99% of you probably won't do this, is I do have less time to create content. Having a 3 versus 6 hour community just allows less time for me to stream and vlog and do all that stuff to get you guys videos for you. Obviously, not a very hard point or a hard argument, but I just wanted to include it because that's how I feel. Now, those are the pros and cons. If you guys have any other pros and cons you guys have thought of that I didn't include in my list, feel free to comment them below. Again, let's try to be respectful and constructive. If someone says something that, you know, if they want 3-hour community days and you want 6-hour community days, don't just go calling them names and calling them stupid. They can have their opinion. Please respect each other's opinions and let's keep the conversations in the comment section positive, or else I'm gonna delete your comment. No haters in the comments. Now, what does this all come down to? What is the final, like, why? It all comes down to the word accessibility. Recently with Niantic's decisions, I feel like accessibility has been a word that they have just thrown out the window. What happened is COVID happened. Niantic was like, you know, we still got to keep our game alive, relevant. And they added all these great bonuses: 2 times spin distance, incense increase, remote rating, and of course, 6-hour community days. All these bonuses seemed like bonuses that were added for the pandemic so people could play from home. However, what the community found is that more people who couldn't play Pokemon Go before were accessible and able to play this game now because of these bonuses. People who are disabled, people in rural areas are able to play Pokemon Go and have more fun with the game because of all these great bonuses. However, now that COVID is slowly going away, Niantic is pushing away those bonuses because they think it takes away from their end goal and in creating community. They have an idea on how the game should be played in their opinion, so anything that takes away from that goal, they will remove. I think it would just be great if Niantic thought more about accessibility and allowing more trainers to play and thinking about the community as a whole instead of just thinking about community meetups and how do we get the most amount of people in one area at the same time. I would argue that Niantic's community has actually grown during COVID because you were able to add these bonuses and get more people playing the game. Having increased incense allows for rural players who could barely play the game before, created small communities in these small towns that had no players before, but now has a community because of incense added, and they actually can get spawns or remote raiding and they can actually start raiding. Accessibility is just kind of the word that really needs to kind of be thrown around here, in which allowing for more people to access a feature, like if they had 6-hour community days, it would be more accessible for people with jobs and things like that. Now, obviously, I'm not just gonna leave you guys on that and just rant the whole time, say this is good, this is bad. I want to leave with solutions and different ways we can make the game better or come to a compromise here to both have accessibility and still reach Niantic's dream. Obviously, first solution, but kind of a simple one, keep 6-hour community days. Change and innovation can be scary sometimes, but let's try to come up with more creative ideas. Now, the second solution and more creative one is going to be credit to LPOG on Twitter, link below to this tweet. Now, they created this beautiful graphic here. It says here, April Community Day, hello trainers, don't skip on stuff on Community Day, April 23rd. Select your gameplay few days ahead of Community Day, default 2 to 5 p.m. and choose the best time frame that suits your group/community. Please select time below local time. So pretty much what this is it will allow you to select a 3-hour period during the day that you guys want to play, that your community want to play, your friends want to play, whatever. You can choose 9 to noon, 11 to 2, 2 to 5, 4 to 7, change of plans. You can switch your time frame. So this will just allow for different groups and communities, or just if you're going to play by yourself, to choose when you want to play. And then here's another picture of you being able to choose, kind of like how you can choose gold or silver on your ticket. Two concerns concerns come up with this. First of all, it really doesn't follow what Niantic is trying to do, in which get more trainers out. And I'm all for. I think that, you know, community and having meetups is great. It's super fun. I've done it before, and it's honestly the funnest part, the community. But this doesn't really make it so you have a higher chance of meeting people you don't know yet, because you're kind of choosing when you want to play. And then also there has been concerns on how hard would this be to code. Now, the second solution, and is one I really like a lot, is by Swag Tips. I'll link this tweet below. Swag Tips very passionate about this, but he came up with a very good solution I am all for. A way we can meet Pokemon Go halfway is to keep the 6-hour community day, same spawn rate, same shiny rate, same rewards, no bamboozle. But for 3 hours, have a boosted period for candy, dust, and XP. We get our 6-hour comfort window, and they get our 3-hour spike. This, I think, is a perfect solution to this problem. It allows for a 6-hour community day in which it's nice and relaxed. You can play when you want. If you have work, you can only play during certain hours. However, it still does advocate trainers to go out and grind during a specific shortened amount of time, because you're gonna be getting more candy, more dust, maybe they're increasing shiny rate, whatever the bonuses they wanna add. Probably 90% of trainers, if they can, will be playing during those 3 hours and have a higher chance of meeting stuff, while still compromising and allowing people who can't play those 3 hours to still play, because it is a 6-hour community. I think this is a very good, honestly, this is a perfect solution to this issue. It meets both sides. It still gets Niantic getting their community out, because, you know, there's only specific time, while still having that flexibility for trainers. Those are honestly the solutions I think are the best. If you guys have any other solutions, feel free to comment them below. Again, let's try to keep it constructive, try to find ideas on how we can come to a compromise. Now, in the end, guys, if Niantic does end up switching it back, or if we end up just having to stick with the 6-hour community days, I want to give you guys things that you can do, because at one point you might just have to deal with it. First of all, just miss community day. Remember, at the end of the year, there's December community day, in which you can catch all the community days you pass. So if you have a work shift during one of the community days, you know, just skip it, and then obviously you'll miss it, but then you can just catch up all the shinies you missed during the December community day. Of course, you're gonna have to wait a year, and you'll be missing these Pokemon from your bag to run in PvP, raids, whatever, and it kind of sucks. But just remember, if you do end up missing community day because of work or whatever, and your schedule just doesn't work with the time they've given you, you still do have end of the year community. Second of all, just plan the time off. Obviously, this is not a solution for everyone. Some people have kids, some people have families, some people have work shifts that they cannot change. However, Niantic have done a great job of telling us community day dates in a long time ahead. We know all the 3 community days for the season of Alola, and we've known April community day is on April 23rd since the start of the season of Alola, since the start of March. So we will have had about a month and almost 2 months to plan your time off. So if you are able to take time off for community days, remember, you can always just go to your boss and say, hey, I need this exact date scheduled off. And you know, it's far in the future. So I'm sure they will say yes if they can, and if that is something you can do. So yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. I'd love to get a good conversation sparking in the comment section below. But again, we're gonna try to keep it positive, keep it constructive. If I see 2 people just arguing at each other and start calling each other stupid, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna delete your comment. Honestly, I'm a really big fan of Swag Tips solution, and I really hope Niantic does put this into consideration. And also remember that Niantic does state in their blog post they are testing this format, so it's not guaranteed it's gonna happen forever. That is the video, guys. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. We're gonna see y'all on the next one. Fall for tips, everyone. Peace.